Hello, this is Jim Feist in Las Vegas, and I'm joined again by Hank Goldberg in sunny South Florida. And Hank, good morning to you, and good luck this weekend. I mean, you've been doing absolutely awesome in all the things that you're doing, horses, sports, etc., but especially you've been doing great in the Westgate contest, so people should beware. You might be collecting that $1 million check. I'm hopeful, and I know you're really good at what you do, and you're right there, you're close, and I'm excited for you. Good morning, Hank.
Good morning, Jim. You know, I'm trying not to overanalyze these games. The one game that I think I'm going to avoid, I initially liked Pittsburgh getting the 3 points, but I'm not so sure about this game right now. I think that the absence of Shazier may hurt Pittsburgh. I think the Pittsburgh defense giving up 38 points to Baltimore last week is kind of a red flag. And New England, I certainly think they have a coaching advantage. I think New England could bounce back next week. You know, Brady's numbers against Pittsburgh are outrageous. You know, the last 7 times they played, 22 touchdowns, no interceptions. And I think what's going to happen in this game is that New England is going to jam up the box and play to stop Bell. And if they can hold him, to under 7, that puts a lot of pressure on Pittsburgh's passing game. And I think that could be a difference in the game. On the other hand, you look at Pittsburgh and their options throwing the ball. Antonio Brown is covered. You know, they got Jesse James as a tight end. New England has difficulty defending tight ends. But New England's getting a couple of guys healthy on the defensive side of the ball. I think this game is an absolute toss-up. And I'm just not all that crazy about it.
Well, then that's why the option is to pass. On games you don't like or not sure about, that's why we pass. That's the advantage we have over the bookmaker. The bookmaker has to put a line up on everything and take bets on everything, but that's why we pay the price of 105, 110, and but we don't have to play when we don't like what we are looking at. Big game. Aaron Rodgers is back, and we talked about it offline. Is Aaron Rodgers healthy enough? Can the Green Bay defense step up their game, because they really haven't been that good? That's a big issue for this coming week. Another one would be Philadelphia at the Giants. Division game. Giants are terrible. We all know that. I think they have 2 wins on the year. They've been absolutely awful, mostly due to injuries. But Philadelphia is coming in with a backup quarterback in Foles. Yes, he's been around for a while, and yes, he's had some good years. But overall, it's not Carson Wentz. So is Philadelphia good enough to go in there and lay over a touchdown to a division rival? And then, of course, there's a lot of very compelling matchups this week. We're down to the last 3 weeks of the season. And, of course, we have Saturday games, too. We got the Detroit game. We got the Chargers-Kansas City game. The Chargers-Kansas City game has monster implications for the AFC West. The winner of that game is very likely to be the AFC West champion and get to the playoffs. So there's a lot of compelling things. We've got big favorites in Minnesota and New Orleans, 2 teams that we're very likely going to see in the playoffs. The question is, how hard will they play knowing that they're in? The Saints are a little bit more of a question mark, because they're fighting with the Falcons and for that spot, and Carolina. So if the Falcons and Carolina can win, Saints have to keep keep pace, and they're a 16 or 17 point favorite over the Jets, who've lost McCown to a broken hand, and Bryce Petty is the quarterback for the Jets. Now that's why the line is so high, because Petty has, in the limited action that he's had, he's not looked very good. So there's a lot of games out there that have some implication, but you like Baltimore at Cleveland. I mean, Baltimore is fighting for their life, and Cleveland, if they give a damn, I don't know. They probably don't want to lose every game. It's pretty embarrassing. There's a lot of great games to look at and talk about this week, Hank.
Well, you just threw about 7 games at me. I'll start with the last one. I think Baltimore is going to crush Cleveland. Cleveland had a big lead last week, and they blew it. And now Baltimore comes in there, and Baltimore offensively is playing very well right now. Josh Gordon helps Cleveland, I know that. But the quarterback has turned the ball over 22 times for Cleveland, and Baltimore has a huge advantage in the turnover area. Not only that, but the one thing is it's a short turnaround for Baltimore. But they've got a running game right now that they haven't had in a long time, and they've got a deep passing game that they haven't had in a long time. But the running game has set up an awful lot of things for Flacco, who seems to be a lot more relaxed right now. And Baltimore beat him pretty good the first time they played. And I think that I think Baltimore is going to beat him pretty good. That one, they only have to give 7.5 points. That's not a monster spread. The New Orleans game is a huge number. But I got to tell you something. They're getting their top running back healthy again. He passed the concussion test, and he's going to play. He's a difference maker. So they have their 2 running backs healthy, and I think the Jets are done. I think the coach, there's talk now that the Jets coach is in trouble, and they just, I don't know, Morton said some weird things this week, the offensive coordinator. The Jets really drew in a stinker last week at Denver. They got shut out. And Denver, last night played against a team that has no defense at all. But the Jets offensively, with that quarterback, he can't win. And the game means something to the Saints, and I don't think they're going to take their foot off the gas at home. They could win that game by 4 touchdowns. I don't think it's playable at 16 or 17 points. But with their top running back, he's tremendous.
Yeah, there's a big class difference there between the Saints and the Jets, and without McCown was the only reason the Jets were able to score any points at all. I will say the Jets have played hard in every game they've tried, except the last week they mailed it in. But losing McCown pretty much ends their season for them. Bryce Petty, well, he really hasn't been given much of a chance to really work his game and to try to develop. But the Jets organization's a mess, so that's not surprising. A lot of times these quarterbacks can develop with the right kind of coaching, the right type of situation. Or if you get in the wrong situation, you can take a good quarterback or a great quarterback and just ruin their whole career. So, yeah, I think the Saints are the right side there. I just don't know how the hell the Jets are going to score. And I really don't understand in that game how the total can be so high when it really looks like there's only one team that has the ability to score points. I mean, the game's open. It's 47 up to 47.5. I don't know where the heck the points are coming from in that game. So unless they're figuring the Saints can score 35, but then you got to give the Jets 2 touchdowns. I don't know where they're going to get 2 touchdowns. I'd bet that game. The Jets. I would bet the Jets team total under. And when that comes out, that's probably what I'll do.
Well, I think that the Saints are going to score enough points to put the game over.
Well, that could be. You're going to have to score 40 probably to do that. Any other games that you're interested in looking at, Hank, or you want to talk about some?
Well, the Rams-Seattle game is a good game, and Seattle is really beat up now, and they've lost 5 key starters, and the last one, the last 2, I guess Wright is probably iffy, and I think they've lost their best cover guy now, their best pass rusher, and their best defensive player altogether in Wagner. And I think that the Rams have a tremendous edge on in there if they don't forget about Gurley. Just give him the ball and keep Seattle off the field. So I think the Rams have a lot to play for. They don't want to get Seattle back into to catch him. So it's a big game for the Rams.
Oh, it's huge. It's a huge game for both teams. It sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very big game. Well, we have a lot of very important games, and some of the matchups, interesting matchup here is you have a team that's fighting for a playoff spot out on the West Coast. They were in Arizona last week and played terribly against the Cardinals. And now San Francisco is a 1-point or 2-point favorite over Tennessee. And that's all because Garoppolo is there, and it's lifted the spirits of that team, and they're coming off of 2 straight wins.
Well, this is Tennessee's 4th road game in 5 weeks. They're 1-5 against the spread in 6 road games. And their 1 win against the spread was against Cleveland. That's not a big endorsement for Tennessee. Mariota has thrown 3 touchdown passes and 11 picks. And he hasn't gone over 185 yards passing in his last 3 games. It gives San Francisco a huge edge. Garoppolo has 804 yards passing in his last 2 games, but he only has 2 touchdown passes. He settled for 9 field goals. So that bothers me a little bit. But, they got a couple of good defensive players on San Francisco, too. Reuben Foster, in particular, he's a pretty good player. And I think Hyde is a very good running back. I think this game has all the year marks of a low-scoring game. And I think San Francisco, this is Garoppolo's first start at home. They've won those last 2 games on the road that he started for them. And I think San Francisco is the right favorite here.
Well, sure, the public is, or whoever's betting it, the sharps or the public, they're all agreeing with that, because the game opened pick and it immediately went to 2. It's been backed off a little bit. There's a little bit of Tennessee money, but Tennessee's been a big disappointment. I'm not sure about their coaching staff. Mariota is definitely a question mark for me. He has not developed. I mean, I hate to even say this, but right now Blake Bortles looks better than Mariota. And that's hard to say because Bortles has not had a great career. He did have a good game last week, though. What do you think about
the Jacksonville defense is carrying that team? And Fournette has not practiced this week for Jacksonville, and they're a big number over Houston. I'd be careful of that game.
Honestly, T.J. Yates might be a better option for Houston. Hold on 1 second. Okay, yeah, it's been well, that whole division there with Indianapolis and with no luck. I mean, it's a tough division for finding quality quarterbacks. And the one team that had a quality quarterback, and of course he got hurt, was Deshaun Watson. So that's on to next year, as far as I'm concerned. Whoever wins this division is not going to go very far, in my opinion, going into the playoffs. But you mentioned the Rams and the Seattle. That's a big game. You covered that very well. Baltimore, I agree with you. That's the right side of that game. You got anything on the Philly Giants? The situation with Foles, and that's a big shoes to fill for Foles. I mean, Carson Wentz was amazing. Foles is a decent backup. Do you think he can fill in and make a difference here for them?
I don't know. They got some offensive line issues. They get Ertz back, which will help Foles, I think. And the Giants are bad. The question is, are the Giants going to show up? The Eagles have had pretty good success against the Giants recently. They should win easily. It could be a bad weather situation, so we'll have to see. Foles hasn't played in a while.
He filled in good last week. I mean, he looked at in a very short period, but he looked pretty good in those last couple of minutes. The Chargers in Kansas City. Now, we know how they started the year. Chargers were 0-4. Kansas City was 5-0. And now they're dead even in fighting for this division. Statistically, the Chargers have played a very weak schedule. Kansas City's had a tougher schedule to play. What do you think that? I mean, the Chargers' defense. Nobody ever talks about it. I mean, you've talked about it, but most other people don't bring up the fact that the Chargers' defense is really playing well, and that could be the difference in this game.
Well, the Chargers are 0 for their last 7 against Kansas City. Kansas City's offense woke up last week. The running back had 150 yards rushing, but it was against Oakland. So is that just how an example of how terrible Oakland is, or was it a wake-up for Kansas City? They've got some weapons on offense, and they could test the Chargers a little bit. But right now, the Chargers are a better team. And, they've got Allen, who's a monster on offense. He's had 4 straight 100-yard games. And I think he's going to be tough for Kansas City's defense to stop. And, you got those 2 beasts on the defensive side of the ball who are going to put pressure on Smith. And right now, the Chargers are just playing better football. But, if they get in there and things don't go well for them, there's that here we go again syndrome for the Chargers against Kansas City. And Kansas City is going to try to run the ball and keep the Chargers off the field. And the question is, with those 2 outside rushers, are they going to run the ball continually inside and try to keep the Chargers off the field? That's really Kansas City's chance to win the game.
Yep. Coaching matchup. You give Andy Reid much of a leg up on the Chargers head coach?
Yeah, I give him a leg up. We don't know about Lynn. This is his first year, and like you say, the Chargers have been playing weak teams, and this is their first real big test, and going along with their winning streak.
Yeah, it really comes down to that strength of schedule. It's they call it SOS. It's really made a big difference in previous years in playoffs and Super Bowls and stuff. The weaker schedules typically.
Well, it's time for Phillip Rivers to stand up and win a must-win game late in the season, and it hasn't happened for him in the last couple of years. Now's the time.
Good point. Yes. Any other games you want to cover, Hank, or any other subjects? I mean, college basketball's been a little slow because of finals and stuff. They're not playing, but we do have a Saturday card. And anything else? You got horses to talk about, or big races coming up?
Yeah, I gave out Southern Cal yesterday, and they won pretty easily in college baskets. Dallas should have an easy time with Oakland, I would think. Oakland's really bad, and I think that they probably don't have one of their top receivers again. And they got rid of their offensive coordinator, and their offense has really fallen apart. And I think that the Dallas defense right now, with Lawrence healthy and Lee healthy, is a different story than it has been previous to last week. So I think, and Rod Smith had a big game last week. He had 160 yards against the Giants. He's going up against maybe a worse defense than what the Giants have to throw up against them. That's really it.
Well, good. Like I said, Hank has been red hot, and he's very involved and focusing hard on the NFL for this weekend. And I know he's going to have a lot of strong picks, and you can go to JimFeist.com and get his picks, not only in sports, but in horses. So go to JimFeist.com and pick up Hank's plays, and you won't be sorry, because he's been absolutely red hot. My plays are there as well. I've got a bunch of bowl games up. I think I have 6 bowl games up for sale. I've got 2 college basketball games up tonight already. And well, there's a small card, so that's all I'm going to have for tonight. And then, of course, tomorrow and the weekend, there's a lot of good stuff to play, and cash some tickets and win some money and be a little richer.
We've got some ball games tomorrow.
We absolutely do. Yep. We absolutely do. And you like any of those to talk about, or you just want to stay off of them and just sell them?
I like Boise a little bit over Oregon. I know that you got coaching change in Oregon, and you got Boise getting a little over a touchdown in the game. I think Boise can win that Las Vegas bowl game. Although I like the players all like the choice of the new head coach at Oregon, who used to coach at FIU and spent some time at Alabama. His experience is really with offensive line play. And that's really it for tomorrow.
Well, I agree with you on Boise. Added a little information to that is Oregon star running back Royce Freeman has announced that he will skip the bowl game and prepare for the NFL draft. And I don't blame him. I mean, it's a big. If he gets hurt in this game, it's a meaningless game, and his college career is over. And if he gets drafted, he's going to get a lot of money and have a career ahead of him. If he plays in this game and gets hurt, it means, if it's serious, it probably means nothing for the money. He won't get anything. So I agree with that decision when you're talking about a meaningless football game. It even comes up in the games that do matter, because they have to play against quality opposition. So kids that are preparing for the NFL have to sort of manage what they're doing, because if they get hurt, their whole career is over and the money dries up. So it's a business decision at this point. So I don't blame them for doing that.
Okay.
Thank you, Hank. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, you too. Thank you.